Hello, fellow gardeners. Welcome to our foundational course on growing vegetables. I highly recommend you immerse yourself in this course from start to finish before delving into our detailed courses on individual vegetables. Here, you will understand our system of gardening, the bed preparation, and the general techniques used in the vegetable courses. I'm really thrilled to have you on board. Looking back, I vividly recall the early days of my own gardening journey. I had the rare opportunity to independently tend my grandmother's garden when I was just 19 years old. Oh, the multitude of mistakes and hurdles I faced. And who could forget when at 22, Tiasha and I started our own very first garden next to our tiny house where we used to live. Pure joy of gardening. And however, in those formative years, I always seemed to lose pace with nature's tempo by June or maybe July, when the weeds would reclaim the garden. Tomatoes started to get mold, beds ran empty, and I found myself in dire need of knowledge and tools to optimize my efforts and adequately prepare both myself and the garden for the summer and autumn seasons. I really lacked guidance and help, so I understand how it feels at the start of the gardening journey. After many trial and error and a solid decade of gardening experience alongside Tiasha, we have crafted a foolproof gardening system that will be presented to you in hours and hours of valuable content. We tested our gardening skills in the year 2021 when we got this beautiful farm and established new garden from scratch. This garden behind me is a family vegetable garden. We don't sell vegetables, but are self-sufficient all year round for me, Tiasha, and our little boy. It's almost 500 square meters in size and encircled with a wooden fence to be protected from wild animals such as deer and rabbits. I know from my experience and from my students in the past years that this system can adapt to any type of soil and produce an array of stunning vegetables in less time. So buckle up, gardeners, as we are about to embark on a wonderful journey of growth. In our exploration of gardening, we'll be nurturing an environment for plants. We are not trying to micromanage their growth, but we aim to make them feel cozy enough to bless us with bountiful, delicious rewards. Trust me, plants are just as excited about this as we are. And as humans, we are still playing catch up to understand plants fully. Even the most basic process of plants, photosynthesis, was shaken to its foundations a few years ago when quantum physicists, or should we rather say quantum biologists, realized that the high efficiency of photosynthesis is due to the quantum phenomenon of superposition. This realization, however, does not change anything in our daily garden tasks. It can only help us realize how significant plants are and build respect for nature. It makes me personally realize that our knowledge of plants is limited, to say the least. Since gardener grows plants in a smaller area and devote less time to the garden than professional vegetable growers, the techniques we apply are also different. They are often generalized and simplified, but they still ensure success. Vegetable courses are not intended for agronomists and professional farmers who rely, sometimes too much, on fertilizer dosing and pesticide, herbicide, and fungicide treatments in their work. It also does not include natural homemade preparations for plant care in the form of teas, concoctions, and the like. In my opinion, on smaller surfaces, such preparations require too much time or too little effect. The vegetable courses are based on the concept of the universally fertile soil that is microbiologically active. At the same time, we rely on the power of nature and attract our microscopic helpers to the garden by not digging up the soil, mulching it with compost and other mulches, and microbiological preparations. These foundations are written and presented in all three of our books. Basically, the described cultivation of individual plants is in accordance with the no-dig preparation of soil and with mulching it with compost and other organic materials. It is not simply an organic way of cultivation, but perhaps even an organic human cultivation. This is food cultivation adapted to humans, but it is organic, human-powered by hand tools, and does not require too much time. At the same time, the whole process is favorable for the human body movement in nature, relaxation, the use of harmless accessories and preparations. Food produced in this way is the most suitable for humans. From a holistic viewpoint, gardening gives a person a lot more than just calories on a plate. Vegetables do not have a scientific classification and are not a specific group of plants. The definition, vegetables, is a very subjective definition of plants used wholly or partially for food. With these plants, we consume boiled or fresh leaves, stems, buds, roots, tubers, bulbs, ripe or immature fruits. Especially in the case of fruiting vegetables, the distinction between fruits and vegetables is rather vague, and it's often defined by the sweetness of the fruit. Vegetable courses do not describe all known types of vegetables, only those that are most well known and grow every year in our garden at Becoming Gardener. The plants covered are classified as vegetables in our environment. Strawberries may be the least appropriate in this context, as they are a sweet fruit, but they are so common in vegetable gardens that we decided to include them in our courses. We will not cover the cultivation of spices or herbs, with the exception of parsley and basil. Parsley is a traditional herb from our region. We use its leaves and stems for flavoring, and in some varieties we also use the root. Basil, on the other hand, is an annual herb that deserves its place among vegetables due to its popularity and frequent usage. In terms of freshness, quality of homegrown vegetables cannot be compared to those purchased from stores, transported from distant locations. Artificial fertilizers, pesticides, herbicides, and fungicides can negatively affect the flavor of the produce, and there are more reasons that add up. Firstly, the swift consumption of artificial nitrogen by plants results in the rapid formation of sugars and carbohydrates. However, this trade-off is that such plants lack antioxidants, crucial both for the plant's health and providing a richer taste for human consumption. Further complexities arise when we delve into soil microbiology, a more diverse ecosystem of microorganisms in the garden soil, comprising bacteria, fungi, and protozoa, enables a larger pool of symbiotic microorganisms that facilitate the transport of minerals to plants from all areas of the soil. The application of fungicides severely reduces the microbial population, in turn leading to poorer flavor in the crops. A biologically active soil unlocks the existing mineral reserves within, granting plants access to vital elements and contributing to a more flavorsome yield. All these factors, along with others, significantly influence the taste of vegetables. Ultimately, our taste buds are the best judge, and they cannot be deceived easily. At Becoming Gardener, we take a different approach to organic gardening. We like to simplify and take the easy way. For successful gardening, two fundamental factors called macro factors are crucial: universally fertile soil and appropriate time for planting. By prioritizing these two macro factors, the garden rewards us with abundant and high-quality crops without having to spend too much time looking after it. In other words, if we do not ensure universally fertile soil, and if we sow or plant at the wrong time, it will be hard to have a successful garden no matter how hard we try. The two macro factors discussed here are based on the important Pareto 80-20 principle. This principle helps us to identify the key causes and factors that have the greatest impact on our gardening success. By focusing on these factors, we achieve the majority of our desired results with only a fraction of the effort. This allows us to save time and allocate it to activities that bring us joy. But remember, being efficient doesn't diminish the heartfelt effort we put into our work. Universally fertile soil in the garden is achieved by not disturbing it with digging and by applying mulch. This approach helps in forming a rich layer of humus and boosts its soil microbiological life, creating a fertile environment for all the types of plants. There are countless earthworms, large and small organisms, microorganisms, branched hyphae of fungi, and plant roots underneath our feet. Together with humus, they form a living organism, which is then destroyed when digging up the soil. At the same time, we lose the potential for successful plant growth because after digging up the soil, the restoration process starts taking place, returning the soil to its natural state. Soil balance can be maintained by proper cultivation techniques without digging, and this allows us to work with cultivated plants without interruptions. These are the main positive properties of the soil that has not been dug up: less weeds, less need for watering, improved soil drainage, warmer soil, quick rotation of vegetables, fungi that support plants, less physical work, and better soil aeration. Mulching and no digging go hand in hand and together contribute to universally fertile soil. By adding organic material on top, the soil is protected. Never try to dig in the mulch in soil, but rather just spread it over the surface. Different mulches have different positive qualities. They also have some characteristics that we need to take into account. Basically, mulches are divided into 4 groups: compost mulch, mulch made from grass organic materials, or as I like to call them, summer mulch, flat mulches such as cardboard or paper, and inorganic landscape fabric. Dense sowings of cultivated plants that are grains, green manure, also provide cover for the soil, hence called cover crops, so that it's not exposed to external factors. Now, these are positive properties of mulched soil: lower temperature fluctuations, less watering, less weeds, source of nutrients for soil and plants, and protection from erosion. The second most important macro factor is the right timing for planting, taking into account each plant's unique characteristics, which will put us in the path to a successful harvest. The timing of vegetable planting is specified in the individual vegetable descriptions provided in vegetable courses. These descriptions include temperature requirements that guide us in determining the appropriate time for sowing or transplanting the plant into the garden bed. These guidelines are specified for our garden in Zone 7B that has a temperate continental climate. Each vegetable species originated from a different wild ancestor in various parts of the world, in different climates. Therefore, we plant them when they're best suited for our specific climate conditions. For example, spinach can be grown in autumn, winter, and spring, as it can withstand frost, while watermelons require temperatures strictly above 10 degrees Celsius. Although we cannot directly control the climate, we can create more favorable microclimate through techniques such as using garden fleece or a greenhouse, providing individual plants with better conditions and extending the growing season. By minimizing interventions during plant growth, we save time, which, as emphasized earlier, is crucial for any gardener. If no more than 20% of plants of the same species fail, no intervention is necessary. This statement brings a fresh perspective to gardening practices, countering the prevailing pressure of instant fixes and the need for complete control. Saving individual plants through interventions can be time-consuming and uncertain. For instance, if fewer than 20% of broad beans plants are affected by aphids, it is advised not to interfere, as the majority of plants will still thrive. Instead, emphasis is placed on preventive techniques such as using garden fleece or an anti-insect nettings to deter pests and diseases. This approach may seem drastic, especially when gardening in a small area of 2 or 4 square meters. We can become so emotionally attached to our plants, giving them also individual names. Every plant loss can feel devastating, and no percentage of failure is acceptable. Even professional farmers who rely on their crops for livelihood strive to minimize losses. However, some farmers tolerate a higher percentage of failure, up to 40%, as imperfect or diseased plants can be used as feed for animals. Embracing this mindset might bring newfound freedom, especially in terms of time. When a pest attack or disease surpasses 20% of a particular vegetable crop, it's time to take action and investigate the causes of failure. In specific vegetable courses, you'll find descriptions of individual vegetables that shed light on common challenges and inconveniences, accompanied by proven and simple organic solutions. Please note that while we provide insights into the most common pests and diseases based on our own garden experience, not every possible issue is covered. Our garden is not perfect. I have never seen a perfect garden in my life, since gardeners can be demanding of themselves. Our system of gardening has undergone a transformation due to 2 challenges. Firstly, the presence of mole crickets in the soil led to the regular losses of over 20% of our transplanted seedlings. Additionally, in 2018, a devastating hailstorm caused extensive damage to our vegetables, surpassing what we considered acceptable. These challenges prompted a transformative change in our gardening practice that year. We transitioned our beds into 15 centimeters raised bed with sturdy wooden frames fitted with a dense metal mesh beneath. This innovation effectively prevented mole crickets from accessing the bed. To protect against future hailstorms, we implemented the use of anti-hail or anti-insect netting, spread over tunnel hoops, or some other means of support which shield each of our garden beds. By protecting our crops from below and above, we have successfully mitigated the impact of these challenges. Compost is created by processing organic material. It is essential for creating fertile soil and can be spread on the soil as mulch. Compost lightens heavy soil and adds structure to sandy soils. It is also an excellent fertilizer and helps grow healthy plants. After harvesting the crops, at the end of October or early November, spread 3 to 5 centimeters of compost on the beds and 10 centimeters of straw or 5 centimeters of wood chips on the pads. We don't do anything else until spring. Before sowing, use a rake or a hoe to break up compost clumps and prevent weed growth. Then sow or plant directly into the compost. In summer, add 5 to 10 centimeters of fresh organic material around certain large plants. Remember this detail: you can sow directly into the compost, but not into the fresh organic material. Regularly add straw or wood chips to the paths. At the end of the season, prepare the beds again using the same steps. And remember, 3 to 5 centimeters of compost at the start of the season is the secret to a productive no-dig garden. If you're starting a new garden as we have in 2021, the process is slightly different. After mowing the grass at the end of October, leave as it is, and any time before February, place several layers of recycled paper or cardboard on the future beds and paths to prevent weed growth. Then place 10 centimeters of compost mulch on the beds and 15 centimeters of straw or 10 centimeters of wood chips on the path. Best width of beds is 75 or 100 centimeters. Leave the bed until spring, then proceed as with regular garden maintenance, as described before, for bed preparation with compost mulch. For a raised bed, the process is the same, but you will need a wooden frame. The frame should contain at least 10 centimeters of compost, but usually 15 to 30 centimeters depending on the frame's height. Place the frame on an existing bed or directly on the grass. The filling this high will kill the grass and weeds underneath. The bed's width should be between 1 meter so you can easily reach the middle. The length vary according to your needs. The size of the bed does not matter to the plants. A common measure is 1 on 2 meters, but in Becoming Gardener, we prefer 1 on 5 meters. Okay, let's wrap up. The vegetable courses that you will watch next are designed for those who have busy schedules, want to cultivate quality, tasty and fresh food for themselves and their families. These in-depth vegetable modules are bursting with valuable information. Some gardeners even watch them in slow motion or multiple times to ensurely catch every detail. Thank you for joining me today as we embark on a journey into the world of organic no-dig gardening. The magic of organic gardening lays in its ability to reconnect us with nature, to the rhythms and cycles of the earth, and to the fundamental truth that we are all part of a vast, interconnected web of life. Our gardens can be microcosms of a larger ecological picture, embodying the harmony and balance that define healthy ecosystems. So, are you ready to embark on this informative journey? Are you ready to become more than just a gardener, but a caretaker of life, a cultivator of biodiversity, and a contributor to the health of our planet? The seeds are in our hands, waiting for us to sow them. It's time for us to step into endlessly fascinating, profoundly rewarding, and beautifully complex world of gardening. Let's step forward together. Let's learn, grow, and navigate the challenges of gardening side by side. In doing so, we won't just be growing plants, we'll be cultivating resilience, patience, understanding, and a deep connection with the world around us. Choose your first gardening course and let the journey of becoming a gardener begin.